Hello, friends. I just wanted to make a quick video about a concept that I learned from this book, The Mindful Body by Ellen Langer. She's a psychology professor at Harvard who has studied decision making. And her concept is that we don't need to make the right decision because ultimately there is no way to know what the right decision is. There are too many factors and too many unknowns, and we don't know how things weave together ultimately, regardless of how many statistical points or pro con lists we make. And if you're anything like me, and especially for those of us who have had a lot of difficulty in relationships or trauma, decisions can feel like really important. Like if we mess them up, then we're going to be back in a situation that was scary for us. So her concept is you don't have to make the right decision. You just have to make the decision right. So I know that sounds a little funny, but basically the idea is any decision can be made right if you decide to either, that you decide it's going to work out, basically, or that it's in your best interest. So this is just another version of saying your perspective is all that matters, right? So let's give the example of you get into a relationship and then it doesn't work out. And then down the line, you're like, I didn't make the right decision about being with that person, right? Well, we could also choose to look at it like, okay, I made that decision. I learned a lot from that relationship. I had these beautiful experiences that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been in that relationship. I it helped me to fine tune like what I am looking for in a relationship. I was able to experience deep grief, which makes me able to connect with other people who have gone through relationship struggles in my life, etc., etc. So you're basically making that decision right by seeing what it has to offer you. Another version of this is she gives the example of how she chose where to take a job. She was choosing between Harvard and somewhere else, and or this might not be the right example. She was choosing her first job. She ended up at Harvard, and her first job, one of the schools was in New York City, and she knew that she wanted to be in New York City. So she was trying to decide about the jobs which were better, but ultimately she just convinced herself that the job in New York City was the better one because she knew she wanted to be in New York City. So she just made it right. And that's a good example of how, at the end of the day, even if you think you're doing like a pro con list or trying to think of like the most responsible thing, you're probably convincing yourself that the decision you ultimately like want in for whatever reason is the right one. So we're just making it up anyways. So if we're making it up anyways, this is something I've said before. If everything is just your imagination, then why not choose the beautiful dream instead of the scary one, right? So it's kind of like at any given moment, we have these two doors. One is nightmare and one is dream. And we can really um, we find the same thing behind those doors. They both lead to the same reality, and it's just like what you're calling them, right? So, to a starving person, a bag of chips may be like the thing that saved their life. And to a person who's really well fed, a bag of chips may be junk food. But the chips didn't change, right? Just the perspective changed. So we can continually, anytime we hear that like shoulda, woulda, coulda voice, we can invite in like, okay, this happened, which brings in the radical acceptance, right? This happened. Now, how do I make it right for me? It doesn't mean you stay in something that doesn't feel right. It just means you spend your energy not on the shoulda, woulda, coulda, or on the, oh my God, what if I make the wrong decision? and you tell yourself, like, there's no wrong decision here. I will make a decision and then I'll make it right. I'll make a decision and then I'll work with it. Um, I'll I'll have it as an experience and I'll learn something from it, and I will you know, better myself because of it, better my circumstances because of it. And so, if I can't make the wrong decision, but I can make any decision right, that's a very empowering place to come from. Anyways, check out the book. It's real interesting. Sort of demystifies the whole idea that we could ever come up with a right decision, or that decision making is ever really, like, I don't know, it gets into a little like free will vibe, because when you read through it, you're like, what? People are not really making decisions. Like, there's so many circumstances that influences that us that we don't even know about. They did all these, randomized experiments, and it's super fascinating stuff. So check it out. Ellen Langer. I actually invited her to come on the podcast, and she said she was too busy, but she wrote me a very nice email. So that was cool. I had a little interaction with her, and she seems like a really cool person. All right. Love y'all.